Hello, my name is Christina Kinzel and I'm a regional sales manager at Laval Underground Surveys. Here at Laval, we manufacture BoreSaver, a high-quality chemical brand that treats water issues like iron bacteria, mineral scaling, and manganese. Today, we'll be taking a deep dive into well rehabilitation and the steps involved in getting to a successful clean. Within the subject of well rehabilitation, there are a lot of issues downhole that we could talk about, but we specialize in products that treat iron bacteria deposits, mineral scaling, and manganese, so I'll delve into these topics more than others. Because we're a camera company, we have information on downhole cameras as well. If you have any questions about downhole cameras, please check out our YouTube video, Camera Portfolio by Eric Haddon. Eric gives an in-depth look at the camera industry and will give you the tools you need to make an educated decision for what camera system fits your needs. We also have other videos that speak specifically to our camera models, so feel free to check out the rest of our lineup that way too. No presentation for Laval would be complete without talking about the history of how we became to begin with. Laval Underground Surveys started out as a downhole camera company back in the 1940s. In fact, we were the very first company to develop one. The first downhole camera was developed by Claude Laval and was around 200 pounds because it was located inside of a decommissioned bomb casing. It was really quite a feat obtaining pictures from the camera, but it was the first step into making the industry what it is today. Since then, we've made strides with our technology to improve not only image quality, but customer experience. What started out as developed film has since transformed into instant video playback with advanced recording features. At our headquarters in Fresno, California, we manufacture multiple camera systems with depths ranging from 350 feet to 5,000 feet to fit a variety of applications. Throughout the years of camera work, we found that biofouling and mineral scaling were among the largest issues our customers were dealing with and had limited safe solutions. We decided to dig into solving these specific problems and found the BoreSaver lineup, which consists of Ultra C and IKL Pro. Initially, we brought the product in from Australia where it was developed, but in 2016, we became the sole manufacturers in North America. This change has enabled us to give lower prices but keep the same quality product that our customers know and love. We continue to sell cameras and BoreSaver chemicals together out of California to provide a one-stop solution for well rehabilitation and maintenance. Now, let's dig into what BoreSaver is. BoreSaver includes two products, Ultra C and IKL Pro. Typically, these chemicals are used for water wells, but we have seen them used for a myriad of different applications like indoor piping, aeration tanks, pump cleaning, irrigation lines, and basement drainage pipes. BoreSaver Ultra C targets iron bacteria deposits, and BoreSaver IKL Pro takes care of mineral scaling like calcium deposits. Used together, these products treat manganese, or even all three issues downhole at the same time. Well rehabilitation is a growing market and should be addressed as such. For this, we have developed the See, Treat, Verify method. We often get calls from customers who have not done research on what issues are downhole before looking for a chemical. This can be dangerous because chemicals do different things, and safety is of the utmost importance when dealing with drinking water for you and your family. Not using the See, Treat, Verify method can ultimately lead to a poor water treatment plan, causing major issues down the road. Ensuring you know what's downhole and its effects are the best way to keep your water safe. Let's break down what the method means. First, you must see the issue that's downhole. If you're not using a camera for well rehabilitation efforts, you're missing out on a vital piece of the puzzle. Physically seeing what's downhole is key to understanding your issues and leads to better problem-solving methods. Without visual evidence, you'll never truly know what's downhole. Things like calcium scaling and iron bacteria deposits can be identified by color, so using a color camera is an easy way to see what's plaguing your well. Secondly, treat the well with BoreSaver products. We recommend using chemical and physical treatments for the efficacy and cost savings. BoreSaver is NSF approved for drinking water, so you can feel good about what you're putting downhole. Choosing a chemical that's not only safe to use but also cost-effective will get you better results for longer. Lastly, you get to verify that the work has been done properly using a downhole camera. Visual evidence is a cheap insurance policy for any application. When using a color camera before treatment, you can use the same color camera to confirm the fouling and scaling has been removed. Because you have the before photos and videos, you can compare them to your after records, giving you and your customer peace of mind for years to come. This all works best when the right chemicals are used, so let's talk about how to choose the right chemical. When deciding what chemicals to use, there are a number of questions that come up and are good to do your own research on. Too often, these questions get overlooked and applications become costly and ineffective just because the right research hasn't been done. These problems can all be solved if some work is done beforehand. Here's some questions to consider when choosing a chemical for your well rehabilitation project. How do we know what the problem is? Knowing what your problem is the first step to putting together a water treatment plan. Has a color camera been used to see downhole? Has there been any water testing done? What are those results? Visually seeing what the issue is, whether it's done by camera or by water sample, is vital to choosing the right method of response. If this step is skipped, an incorrect product can be chosen and can cause damage to the water and equipment used downhole. Are we using the right method of response? Doing research on chemicals that you would like to use will enable you to have the most efficient treatment plan possible. How do you know you're using the right chemical? Is this chemical specifically meant to treat your issues? Knowing what your chemicals are meant to treat is essential so you don't use the wrong chemical for your reported issue. To do this, call around and get information online about different chemicals and their uses. Sometimes it's as simple as calling the chemical company to ask about their products. Getting a clear answer as to whether a chemical will properly treat your problems will make sure you're using the right method of response. How do you use the chemical correctly? There are different application methods for each chemical, and it's important to know this not only for the safety of your crew, but for the equipment downhole as well. If not properly used, acids can cause harm to the water, the equipment, and the well. Does it need to be diluted or mixed into a slurry first? Be sure to check out the instructions for use sheet for the chemical. It can give you directions on how to use the product and tips or tricks to ensure the best clean possible. Are we limiting harmful impacts? The stronger the acid, the more precautions that need to be taken. Will the chemical corrode the equipment downhole? What are my purging options? Understanding how harmful or safe your chemical is to the environment is not only good for your well, but for everyone around you. What you put into the ground should be safe to use because everyone shares the aquifers, so let's do our best to keep them clear from dangerous chemicals. It may seem tedious and out of the norm to ask these questions for every single project, but it'll help you figure out the best chemical for your issue so you don't have to waste time and money on double or even alternate treatments. So that you don't have to do alternate treatments, we want you to know for sure what's downhole. That's why we've started to sell BART kits. BART stands for Bacterial Activity Reaction Test. This little kit will help you determine if you have biofouling downhole. Our kits test for iron bacteria and sulfur-reducing bacteria. We recommend using a BART kit before well rehabilitation efforts because when bacteria is present, different measures need to be taken. BART kits are simple and easy to use. They come as a small vial with a resealable top and a white ball that floats in your water sample. Simply fill the small vial with the water you'd like to test and watch it for up to 8 days. Within 8 days, your vial will change colors to tell you how much iron bacteria or sulfate-reducing bacteria is present. Depending on when the colors change, make sure to look at the comparison colors that are on this slide and with the paperwork provided. You have a small, medium, or large iron bacteria problem. For example, when we wanted to test some water from Iowa to see what amounts of iron bacteria they had, we poured the water into the vial and took pictures during the very first day every few hours because the water was changing colors. Within 1 day, the BART kit vial had drastically changed colors to brown to show high iron bacteria counts. Based on this diagnosis, we were able to help the customer come up with a viable treatment plan using BoreSaver products. If we hadn't have used the BART kit, we wouldn't have known how high the iron bacteria counts were because it is possible to have high iron bacteria counts but not have high iron bacteria deposits. We also recommended that our customer use a BART kit after the rehabilitation treatments were finished. Use the kit before to determine the severity of iron bacteria, then do a second test after rehabilitation to test for how efficient your treatment was. After treatment, it's smart to test the water regularly to establish a normal baseline. This will help you determine when it's time for another treatment. There is no way to completely get rid of iron bacteria as it's naturally occurring and present in the aquifers, but you can severely reduce its clogging deposits with the proper chemical. Once you have determined the amount of iron bacteria that's downhole, you must move on to finding a treatment with a proper chemical. BoreSaver Ultra C is the treatment of choice among groundwater professionals, and for good reason. It's not only safe to use, but it's a targeted treatment for iron bacteria, unlike other products to be found in the marketplace. Ultra C is a biodegradable crystal powder that contains organic acids to safely and effectively remove iron bacteria buildup. It's gentle enough to use while the pump is still in place, saving you time and money. The product works by changing the chemical makeup of the biofouling. Instead of throwing harsh and dangerous acids at the fouling, Ultra C targets it to break it up and make it soluble. This makes it easy to pump out. When Ultra C comes into contact with iron bacteria and has pulled it into its solution, it turns the water green, which enables you to visually see that the product is working and when to stop purging. The byproduct of Ultra C and iron bacteria is CO2 and H2O, so in most areas it's safe to purge straight onto the ground, but as always, check with your local regulations. The difference between Ultra C and other products is that Ultra C is a targeted solution for iron bacteria biofouling. When treating iron bacteria fouling, you cannot compare other chemicals with Ultra C because they do different things. Research shows that the acids used in Ultra C are effective for removing iron deposits. Using the right product for an issue is better in the long run. This will save you time, money, and the hassle that comes with using dangerous chemicals. Research also shows that common chemicals are not effective against biofilms. Chlorine in large amounts and hydrochloric acid actually increase the rate of bacterial production, making it worse later on. Hydrochloric acid is a strong acid meant to treat minerals, but it is ineffective against biofilms. These chemicals are good for other issues, but not for iron bacteria deposits. The American Waterworks Association actually states that hydrochloric acid solution will remove or loosen incrustation in the screens or the column pipe, although it will not remove much biofouling. Hydrochloric acid is present in a lot of different chemicals, some state that they treat iron bacteria deposits. But based on the research that's done, hydrochloric acid is not the best treatment for biofouling. Our product IKL uses hydrochloric acid, but if you have iron bacteria, we would recommend using Ultra C instead because it will not get you the same clean. Calculating out Ultra C is as simple as knowing the well dimensions. There are two different percentages to use for the well volume, 2% and 4%. In cases of first use or severe restriction, meaning high amounts of biofouling, we recommend using a 4% well dosage volume to start. To calculate it, take the static height of the well, which is the total number of feet of water, and multiply it by the pound per foot of the casing ID. This will give you the number of pounds of product needed. Let's look at a small well with a not so severe restriction. Let's say the static height of the well is 100 feet, and the diameter of the casing is 4 inches. You multiply 100 times 0.12. This will give you 12, which equals 12 pounds of product. Ultra C comes in 27-pound pails, so that means you only need to run half a pail for this treatment. Now that we've decided that BoreSaver Ultra C is the right product and how much product is needed, let's look at how to use it. First steps first, pour the product down whole. Ultra C is a crystal powder, so circulate it on and off every half an hour for 3 hours. Then let it sit for 24 hours. After the 24 hours are up, purge according to your local regulations. When purging, you should see a significant amount of iron bacteria deposits coming out. This will look like orange or red rust as shown in the picture. After that, you should see some green water, and this is what the water looks like when it has come into contact with Ultra C. After the water is turned clear, purge 1 to 2 more well volumes to completely clear the product out. We recommend using a camera and a BART kit after treatment to verify that the rehabilitation has worked properly and there are no lingering issues. Chlorinate and finish your rehabilitation job as recommended. Besides the normal instructions for use, here are a few other tips and tricks for a successful clean. Use the recommended amount of product based on the Excel product sheet. If you're not sure about how much product your application needs, please give us a call. Using too much won't hurt anything, but using too little won't make as much of an impact as you might need. Using the right amount of product is always the most cost-effective decision. Do 2 treatments for severe clogging instead of overdosing. If you're treating a well and you've done the research to see that iron bacteria deposits are present downhole and you've done a BART test to show that you have high amounts of iron bacteria, one idea is to look into treating the well twice instead of overdosing on the initial treatment. The process of circulation, surging, and removing top parts of biofilm make it easier for a second treatment to target the more difficult parts. Biofilms have layers, which would be iron bacteria deposits, and sometimes require multiple doses of product to get to the deepest layer. Ultra C works differently from other products in that it penetrates that biofilm to dismantle it, as opposed to harsh chemicals which try to knock off the biofilm. Although biofilms sound easy to remove, it can be very difficult when left untreated or mistreated. That's why using 2 treatments instead of 1 might be an advantage to your specific project. For wells deeper than 260 feet, use a tremie to target infected areas. This will help ensure that the product gets into the correct production zone. Agitate the treatment solution thoroughly in the target zone. Making sure the product is in the correct zone is one part, but for severe areas, agitate it with physical means thoroughly. Leave the cleaner in place for the recommended time. If you are unable to let the water sit for 24 hours, leave it in for 10 to 12 hours and do a second treatment at a later time. Overdosing for a shorter amount of time will not get you the same results. After the treatment solution has been purged, chlorinate the well in the usual manner. Don't attempt to neutralize or chlorinate the well with the solution in place. Along with this, be sure to clean your equipment that's come into contact with the water. If not cleaned properly, the bacteria can be transferred into another water source or well. And lastly, always discard the solution in accordance with local regulations. If your issue is mineral incrustations, there's a different approach to take, and IKL Pro is the solution. IKL Pro dissolves calcium and manganese down whole while still being a safe-to-use chemical. Just like with Ultra C, you can use IKL Pro with a pump in place, saving you time and money. It comes in 3 sizes: 5-gallon pails, 55-gallon drums, and 270-gallon IBC totes. And, as with all Laval Underground Survey's products, they are made in America. When comparing BoreSaver IKL Pro with other hydrochloric acid products, the results are clear. IKL Pro is the best treatment for mineral incrustations. It comes ready to pour and doesn't need to be diluted. Though it's a powerful acid, it contains a lower dosage because, as we've discussed, overdosing isn't necessarily going to get you a better clean. Oftentimes, a higher dosage acid will cause more harm to the well and surrounding water, as it makes the scaling difficult to control and remove. IKL Pro is different and, like Ultra C, does not need the pump to be removed. Its sitting time is less than other products also, and that it has a maximum sitting time of 24 hours. Typical hydrochloric acids require a minimum of 24 hours sitting time. One of the reasons the pump does not need to be removed is because by keeping the pump in place, you are simultaneously cleaning the pump because it becomes clogged with calcium scaling as well. Mechanical surging is not necessary with IKL Pro, but you are welcome to use it if the pump is pulled, and as it will always get you the best possible clean. IKL Pro is unique for many reasons. No dilution is required before use. IKL Pro comes in a ready-to-pour pail with safety handling instructions on the label. Mechanical brushing is not required to use with IKL Pro, but active brushing or surging will get you the best clean possible. Brushing or surging enables the product to be pushed out into the crevices and surrounding areas, giving you a good clean that lasts longer. If the pump can't be pulled, regular circulation will clean the well properly. Just be sure to leave it in the recommended amount of time. Inhibitors are already included in IKL Pro, so you don't have to worry about it ruining your pipes or pumps. It is safe to use for prolonged periods of time, but it's not necessary to leave it in any longer than 24 hours. And lastly, IKL Pro can be used in conjunction with Ultra C, which will ease the burden of doing 2 separate treatments for different issues. One of the nice things about IKL Pro is that the instructions for use are the exact same as Ultra C. This was designed so they can be used at the same time and not use 2 different processes. IKL Pro comes in a liquid form, so it's heavier than water, so once it's poured down whole, it will fall to the bottom of the well. Just like with Ultra C, if you have a large well and severe scaling in a particular production zone, use a tremie to target the IKL into the trouble zone. After IKL is poured down whole, circulate the water within the well either with a pump or with mechanical methods. We recommend circulating it for around 3 hours on and off every half an hour. This will help ensure the product is properly dispersed throughout the water column. Once you're done with either the mechanical methods or circulation, turn the pump off and let the well sit for 24 hours. It's not necessary to let it sit longer, but if you're only doing 1 treatment as opposed to 2 treatments, let it sit for the full 24 hours. After it's sat, purge the well according to your local regulations. It's important to note that IKL will not turn the water green like Ultra C will, but you will see white scaling come out of the purge water. Once you believe the product has been purged from the well, test the pH to make sure it goes back to its baseline. Using BoreSaver products will lower the pH, so once it's been removed, your pH should return to normal. If it's still too low, keep purging. Chlorinate and finish your rehabilitation job as recommended. As I've noted throughout the presentation, use a downhole camera after your rehab job to make sure the production zones are clog-free. Using a color camera with a side view will help you see clearly. Besides the normal instructions for use, here are a few other tips and tricks for a successful clean with IKL Pro. Use the recommended amount of product based on the Excel product sheet. If you're not sure about how much product your application needs, please give us a call. Using too much won't hurt anything, but using too little won't make as much of an impact as you might need. Using the right amount of product is always the most cost-effective decision. Do 2 treatments for severe clogging instead of overdosing. If you're treating the well for calcium scaling and have done research to confirm there are high amounts of calcium and scaling downhole, one thought is to do 2 treatments instead of 1. The process of circulation, surging, and removing top parts of scaling make it easier for a second treatment to target the more difficult parts. That's why using 2 treatments instead of 1 might be an advantage to your specific project. For wells deeper than 260 feet, use a tremie to target infected areas. This will help ensure that the product gets into the correct production zone. Agitate the treatment solution thoroughly in the target zone. Making sure the product is in the correct zone is one part, but for severe areas, agitate it with physical means thoroughly. Leave the cleaner in place for the recommended time. If you are unable to let the water sit for 24 hours, leave it in for 10 to 12 hours and do a second treatment at a later time. Overdosing for a shorter amount of time will not get you the same results. After the treatment solution has been purged, chlorinate the well in the usual manner and check that the pH has returned to normal. Don't attempt to neutralize or chlorinate the well with the solution in place. And lastly, always discard of the solution in accordance with local regulations. One question that we receive on a fairly regular basis is, how do I know that your products will work on my problems? It's a fair question if you've never used our products before and don't want to waste your time or money. That's why we've come up with a simple way of testing our product with your clogged equipment. We call this the bucket test. It's about as simple as it sounds. Put some product into a bucket with water, immerse your clogged equipment inside of the water, and see if there's a reaction. For the issues we treat, you will see a chemical reaction when they come into contact with iron bacteria deposits, calcium scaling, or manganese. The phrase is, if it works in a bucket, it will work in the well. This is because the equipment you have stimulates the conditions downhole, and by using a few cups of BoreSaver, you will see if it treats your issues. We also use this concept when someone doesn't know what it is downhole, but has a hunch that it's iron bacteria, manganese, or calcium scaling. By immersing it in Ultra C, you can see if there's iron bacteria fouling because the water will turn green. Ultra C will only work like this on iron bacteria deposits, so if there's no iron bacteria fouling, it will not turn the water green. By immersing it in IKL Pro, you can see if there's calcium scaling because fizzing will occur like in the video. Calcium carbonate, which we just call scaling here, is a base. And when something like IKL Pro, which has an acid, comes into contact with it, they react against each other. The fizzing you see is the byproduct of a base and an acid coming together and the resulting CO2. By using them both, you can see if there are any of those 3 issues located within the fouling on your equipment. If you immerse, say, a filter covered in iron bacteria deposits into IKL Pro, you won't see a good result because IKL Pro isn't meant to treat iron bacteria deposits. The same goes for calcium scaling and Ultra C. This is a great test to do if you aren't sure what's downhole or if this is your first time using BoreSaver. Throughout the presentation, we've learned how to find out what issues you're experiencing downhole, what to treat them with, and how to verify that the work has been done properly. See, Treat, Verify is the future of well rehabilitation. This will help your company embrace new technology and methods while still allowing you to continue with the same quality of work, if not improve it. I appreciate you listening in on this presentation. We go all over the world speaking about the importance of See, Treat, Verify because it's something we believe in. We want to be able to provide the resources for you and your customers to give you the best clean possible while saving some money in the process. If you have any questions on our downhole cameras or BoreSaver chemicals, feel free to check out our website at lavalunderground.com, shoot us an email at info@lavalunderground.com, or give us a call at 559-251-1396. Our sales and technical department will be more than happy to discuss your water issues and how we can help. Thank you for your time.